Well, hello and a very warm welcome. This spreadsheet is designed to help you do a cybersecurity assessment, looking essentially at the controls that are available. Now, all the sheets are locked down so you can't accidentally delete. I know you wouldn't, but one of your colleagues might try to type over this, for example, and it will alert you that you can't do it. However, it's not password protected, so if you wanted to be able to edit over it, you simply go up to Tools menu, Protection, and unprotect the sheet. However, you can edit all the areas you need to. So for example, you can tick and say, yes, we have got an information security policy that indicates it's there. You can put in all the notes that you want to describe it into these columns here. You can't edit anything outside that. So these are just the fields that you can edit. So this is designed as a quick initial check to say, do we have these documents? If you are going to be, for example, doing work for a client, you might provide this list and say, these are the documents that I would like to see. And then when you get there, you can go through and tick, yes, I found them. In the comments section, you might put in the date, the business owner, the status of it, if it's up to date. And this is just our suggested list of basic initial documentation to start the review. Then on the next page, we have the ISO 27000 review. It's designed to provide a 100-point review, basically as a pass-fail mark. This is just preamble, so it's looking at what's the date of the assessment, who did the assessment, where was it, what's the business area, contact details, how big a site is it. You can edit these, of course, by unprotecting the spreadsheet. Now, in here are the actual controls. Now, some of these are not applicable, so we've just blanked them out. As you can see, they are really things like please provide a map, look at what are the critical nodes. These are text-based fields. In here, for most of these, they're all text-based fields, the entity, responsible officer, any available objective evidence, and then, of course, observations and comments. Now, the question is in scope or out of scope or not applicable. Essentially, it's saying the default would be that all of these are in scope, but you might choose to have them out of scope for a particular reason for a particular facility or organization. Now, the ratings are essentially 3 levels of rating: effective, in progress, or ineffective. They simply come from a drop-down menu here. What happens, though, as you work through these, and as you can see, there's another one there which is not relevant for rating because it's just guidance talking about are these policies developed, and it's asking for those specific pieces of information. You might then want to go through these and there'll be a process where you can look at it and say, okay, so for something yes is in scope, implemented effective, it essentially adds up everything. If you say no, then it doesn't really care. It doesn't matter what mark you give it, you won't change the result. But if you say yes, it's in scope, it will then give you that sort of a mark. And again, you might put this next one in scope just to bring us up to a bit more positive of a mark. So essentially we're saying yes. From 75 to 85 is your basic level of acceptable guidance. Now you can modify this to suit your own needs, but this is what we've come up with. This is what we tend to use. 85 to 100 is a fully effective control system, or at least will be effective most of the time. And 50 to 74, somewhat effective, but it needs work. Below 50, so for example, if I start marking this down, we get into the yellow range, somewhat effective. I kind of mark it, the next one down again. And it's essentially based on all the ones which are in scope. Then you will get a rating based on that. As you can see, it adjusts as you go. Now, controls checklist is another area to look at, an area where we might take notes around these. And rating, this is essentially another view of the controls, firstly based around organizational controls. So we're looking at some of the policies, access rights, protection of records, and so on. Then we're looking at people controls as a separate category. And then we're looking at physical controls, and last but not least, technological controls. So this is designed to give you another type of review, whereas the first one was looking at from a policy point of view and a structural top-down. This is a more granular level, looking at more detailed, so use of privileged utility programs, installation of software, details which you can go down. Again, these are not necessarily 100% of what you will use all the time, but it gives you a foundation, and if you started with this, you'll be in good company. The last tab here is a 10-point scale just to give you a bit better idea of some granularity, to look at what we might consider some of these ratings to be. So they're slightly different. You should adapt it for your own purpose, but essentially it gives you a bit of a word picture. What does a 6 mean? It means satisfied basic requirements, basic documentation can be produced, etc. So that gives it an essentially basic compliance. These are deliberately different from the ones in the other spreadsheet here, just so that you have an idea. Choose what works for you and leave the rest. Thank you. I hope that's useful, and if you have any comments, please let us know. Thank you.